Okay, so I'm going to record your three objects.
Okay, you want me to start now?
Yeah, you can
Okay.
start.
So like I said, I did move the three objects back into my office since cleaning my office out. So I was not prepared for today, but prepared for eventually doing this.
You're like prepared for
So,
life.
so I will go in no particular order because there's not like an order of significance. But the first thing I have is my swing line stapler, which if you are a fan of Office Space, this was one of the main objects of the movie, was Milton Stapler, which when the movie first came out, Office Space, they sold out of these staplers and they stopped making them. And I bought this is like a specific, had like Office Space packaging. So I actually bought this when I first got my very first post-college job. So I got this for my desk. So I've had it ever since then. So this is an Office Space prop. It works. Um, the second thing I have is these are two items, but two stress balls. So I started collecting stress balls um, because of this stress ball. So this stress ball is an office stress ball. It has a quote from Dwight that says information is power. So you know how it like Target at the beginning, I don't know if they still do this, but at the front of the store they have like what we used to call like the dollar or $5 section, just like random things that are really cheap. Well, back in 2006, they had all this office themed stuff, and I bought like almost everything. And I was like, one day when I get a job, I have an office, I'm gonna have all this stuff for my desk. So I actually left this stress ball in the packaging, and I get emotional thinking about this, but I left this in the packaging and I did not open it till I got my job at IU. So I saved it for when I started working full time. And so it's been like marked up and stuff like that. But because of this stress ball, I started collecting stress balls. Because when I got this, I was like, one day I'm gonna have a real job. I think I was working at the video store at the time. I was like, one day I'm gonna have a real job. And I wasn't important enough in the military to have my own desk. So I was like, one day I'm gonna have my own a big boy job and have an office and I'm gonna decorate it. This is the first piece of decoration. This is the first piece I had. And also from IU, this is just like another one I pulled out of my office box, but this is just an IU football one because I just collect them. I have a lot of random stress balls that I started collecting. And then the last thing is these are vials these are vials of COVID vaccine. Like they're empty, don't worry. But these are significant importance because they are the first and second, these vials from the first and second batches that we opened on the first day of our vaccine clinics at IU that I helped run. And then one is from the last batch when we closed our vaccine, when we were no longer doing the vaccine clinics. And these were really important because this was something that a lot of us were not trained to do. And we just were like, we're going to have to do this. So we basically ran it with the public health team and event services who ran these vaccine clinics. And so it come to find out, as I like to pat myself on the back, is the IU vaccine clinic became the model vaccine clinic for the entire state of Indiana because we were the most efficient vaccine clinic. And if you remember at that time, a lot of clinics were having to waste doses of vaccine because the Pfizer one, once it leaves the freezer, it can't go back in. And it has 6 doses per vial. So, people would like pop a vial, but they only give one dose because they wouldn't fill those clinic spots. We did not have that happen. I think we maybe only wasted maybe like single digits of vials total for the entire year or whatever we were doing that clinic. So this was like a really big moment, I guess, in public health. We kind of joke, it's like when I first got into public health, the movie Contagion was like Top Gun. It's like that's our Top Gun, right? Never thinking it was going to happen in our lifetime, and then it happened, and we're like, oh my god, we're like doing the stuff they did in the movie. So we watched it the first day that they closed the state down. My boss, very cynical, posted like we had the. This isn't related to my three thing. I can maybe it is anyway, but we had like all these TV screens in our little like control room, and we had like the Johns Hopkins map of the COVID cases that they would update every day in the United States and around the world, and all these like different news channels. And for the screens, we're playing Contagion the first day that the campus was shut down. So that is the end of my 3 things.
Wow, what a life.
I feel like you knocked it out of the park on this 3 things idea.
Yeah, nobody wants to go after Will.
At least Paul's not here to know. So, he's like the perfect next person to go. I agree. I would not want to follow that act. That was really, thanks for sharing, Will.
Yeah, that totally works. What a range. Well, I'm glad you have a big boy job here with us. Okay, so we have talked about the field project like to death. And then last week I asked people to put everything on their go, no go. I'm sure not everything was there, but I tried to map it over to clusters that we can just try to get done and and have a state of readiness on certain things. And I sent the spreadsheet, but I will send it here. And so what I felt when I looked at the go, no go, and then I looked at what we had done as a field team is I just felt a sense of chaos, not chaos, because I'm sure people's heads are very organized, but like, I was like, where do I start? So I made this overview where we can just evaluate what cluster is ready. I put some numbering in, and the main reason for that, like I assigned different tasks, different numbers. The main reason for that is not like you have to remember which number is associated with which task. It was more so I could map that task over to one or more things that were on the go, no go sheet and make sure that everything was translated. And acknowledging that Paul and Christian are not here. They of course play a huge role in this. Hello, Paul and Christian. I'm sure you're gonna watch this later. But I think I think they've got like high level things on the interface and pack readiness and the whole house pressure readiness. And you can see I haven't filled those in. And so there's a whole bunch of other things that I think the rest of us can do to be ready to go into the field. And then I would like to make a momentous statement is that I think we should be ready to go into test houses with at least the interface and the pack by the end of September. And Christian said, let's have a deadline. Okay, there's my deadline. The reason for that is I think like the first houses that we do are not going to be so-called real. They're going to be us learning. And I feel like we we will be doing that throughout the fall. I don't think there's any sense in starting a so-called real house in November because people will go into the holidays, they will be absent, their behaviors will change, and it will be very difficult to compare. So my feeling is that like as soon as January hits, we need to be in real houses, and that means we need to be on that ramp up to it throughout the fall. This project nominally ends July 31st, 2026. We may get a no cost extension, but you hear those words, no cost in front of extension. That means we don't get any more money. So it's, yes, NSF will give you 1 or 2 extra years to finish the work, but that does not mean they will pay you. So we will have to we will probably extend the work, but I'm guessing that we need to knock out those field homes in early winter of 2026 in order to have a chance of wrapping this project up. Okay, thoughts about that deadline thing? No fear was heard? Okay, we're moving. Of course, Paul and Christian aren't here, like I said. Yay. Pi and Erica, there's very little from you on here. And I don't know what readiness looks like for your team. So what I'd like to do today is two things. Get readiness for your team on here, and then for the field prep stuff, get some deadlines on that make it so we're ready to go in at the end of September. And then I put two columns in this. One is poised condition. Poised condition is you think you did everything and you think you're ready. And go condition is you did the go, you screwed up, you fell on your face, and then you fixed it. So I in the go no go, I ask people to say, when are we going, when are we not going? I've changed that a little bit, and I started filling things out so people could see examples, but we're also going to have to fill that out for everything. I have kept the faculty members as leads for the most part. This does not mean that research assistants and graduate students, it doesn't mean you're unimportant, and postdocs. It means that we, the faculty, are ultimately on the hook for it. And so it's our job to push you and get done by the deadline. And so I was tempted to put some of you as leads. And I think I put Will maybe in one place, but I think it's really the buck stops with us. And so even if we hand you all the work and tell you to do all of it, we're responsible for making it happen. Okay, so first thing, comments, any comments on the format, like think changes that people would like to see? This is not changes on the tasks, those will change, but is there anything else that you think would be useful? Maybe way over on the side, I have a deadline poised and a deadline go. And so if we're September 30 go, that means August 31 poised, right? And that's pretty darn soon. Okay. People are very quiet. Somebody say something, just so I know that I have my sound on.
I was gonna say, thinking about that time frame. I think Misa and Danny would agree, at least as far as what we can do is like, I mean. We could probably like go tomorrow. It's like, we kind of have everything we need. We've already done it enough times. So I would say we're good, but I know there's gonna be more than just those pieces of equipment that we're gonna be setting up and installing in the home. So that's something that I can just contribute, so it's not quiet.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Well, I agree, and I think that one thing that will make us give us a little back pat will be filling in the things that are ready. I will say though that although we claim we're ready to go and you've done it many times, I haven't seen a consistent, reliable data stream from my home yet. So are you really ready? And that's, something that I've been pushing with Misa especially, and also Danny. And we're very close. But this is the purpose of this poised versus go, is I feel like people think they're like most of the way there. And then, it's like you're ready to leave on a camping trip and somehow you still have an hour left of work to do. So I know that Kristen has led a meeting on the field forms and procedures, and we have some tasks. I think we could work at some of the other ones, like field prep, procedure, and decisions. And we can also do deadline poised. Like, I think procedures and field homes, some of those things we can call a very soon deadline. Okay, so why don't we jump to field prep procedures and decisions? So looking at what's in there, there might be things missing. But like there's stuff like we haven't decided, the weather station at field sites. Okay, after this, Erica and Pi, I'm gonna go to yours. So then, so you can be thinking while we're talking. Okay, have we checked the omnis? When can that be done by? Like what, how are we gonna measure particulate matter?
We are checking the sensor quality now, like how good the sensor is measuring. I'm doing like chamber tests right now with another student. And as far as the license part, we won't need a license anymore. That part is already figured out. So we will not need a license to save data for those.
Okay, so you wanna give me, would it be fair to say, to give this at like an 8/15 deadline? Cause we don't want everything to be due August 31st. That just means we'll not do a bunch of stuff, right?
By August 15th, we will have. Well, what I need from you is how many omnis do you want allocated for the project?
Yeah, so that's this thing down here, this simultaneous site management on 800. That's something that Misa is working on. Do you want to give us a deadline for 800, Misa? The brown one at the bottom?
Yeah, let's. If we're trying to make a decision with the Omnis by 8:15, can we do a week before 8/8, 8/8, 9/8, 8/8?
Okay. And what do you think the poised condition looks like and what does the go condition look like?
Well, we have an inventory list of all the equipment that we have here in the lab, but the thing is, not everything is where it's supposed to be. So I think tracking all of that down and making sure we actually have it.
Okay,
would
so that's what you have to
be-
do to meet the poised condition, but what does the success look like? Don't tell me what the failure looks like.
Um, I guess just gathering a list of all the equipment that we have and then seeing how many sites we can have running at the same time. I don't know if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, sure. So that like it's something like we have a system for knowing where everything is and how many sites are runnable at the same time, right?
Yes.
So we
Yeah.
brainstormed this, Misa. We kind of just arbitrarily throw. I was like, what if we had 4 houses going at the same time, and then a set of like backup equipment? So for us, that would be 20 omnis, and that absolutely can be done by that date.
Okay, so and then that raises the question, oh, there's a decision on how many omnis we're running at each house. And have we ever talked about that?
We did not, and that's why I just made a guess based on Epic Homes. We had 4 omnis per home. So if we have 20, we could be running 4 at one time with a set as a like a full backup set. Or we could have 5 houses.
Yeah, so we do want to have backups.
Can I comment on that one directly? Or you-
Please. Yeah.
I think since we're not super instrument limited, I think we should go with 4. But sorry, 2 things. We're not super instrument limited, but we also know that 5 might be quite a bit more than we need to understand variability in the home. 4 is nice. I think it's potentially redundant, but redundancy can sometimes be informative. And 4 gives us the ability to have that backup set, which I think is really valuable. given the age of
Okay.
these omnis. I think we could, if pushed to it, even reduce to 3 and still not lose like new information. We might just lose some ability to speak about redundancy or homogeneity.
Okay. So that's. Oh, 4 omnis per home. Misa mentioned the fan tests, so there's, and then there's probably blower door test decisions. And then Paul was like, "You're gonna test the duct leakage, aren't you?" And I'm like, "First I heard of it, so we probably wanna." And so that kind of plays into the all procedures needed. But yeah, it's another thing. I was kind of hoping Paul would be here today, but he's not.
But for duct leakage, we would just need to. 3 of us just need to take some time to spend with Paul for him to go over that procedure with us. Right? And then it's just a couple pieces that we take with us into the field, like we would with the blower door.
Yeah, I don't think it's so the question is not can you learn it? The question for me is that we already have a fairly lengthy installation procedure. And the more things we add, obviously, the longer it is, the fewer houses we can do and the more we're imposing on the homeowner and wondering if our stipend is sufficient.
Okay, so I made a comment about this, I was thinking about this earlier or some time ago. That if, and I wanted to ask you about it, Tammy, is if I'm already gonna be kind of doing that pre-check on the homes to find out if it's. Gonna be a good enough home for us. Some of
Mhm.
these things I can do while I'm there doing that. Cause it's not that big a deal to do. I mean, as long as we say like, okay, it'll just take us an hour. To see if your home is like whatever, and it's not that big of a deal for me to run the blower door test then. So if I'm kind of going to the home, because the plan would be, I would already go to a home before the whole team goes to the home. So if I could do all those things then, that's one less thing we have to do, we go, and if we find out it's not that, oh, this home isn't gonna work. That's not that big of a deal that I already did blower door test on it.
That may be true. But so you're talking about the installing the sort of pre-monitoring, right? I don't want to do a blower door test on homes I'm not going to measure. So the pre-monitoring is going to be an additional time and expense already. There's no reason that we should expand that. Right, so we didn't plan for that in the budget. I mean, we're like way over budget, guys, way over, and we're just kind of sopping it up because I have discretionary funds. But but a lot of the field stuff has taken a lot more person power than we budgeted. And so I'm not gonna be stingy about things like 4 versus 3 omnis, but if it's like, we're gonna throw away 50 homes and they have blower door tests, I'm like, no, that's not gonna happen. But thank you for the offer, Will, because I think we're gonna be doing minimum screening. That's the point of having screening, right? Is to not invest further time in homes that are not gonna meet these needs. So think about it that way. I think you have a lot of creative ideas. So think about like, not just what else could you do, but how could we trim this? Like we were pretty good at streamlining the field because of everybody's input. So we're gonna have to do that again. Um, does this seem like an 8:15 possibility? That's pretty tight. Can we shoot for 8:15 on everything there except for the thing that is led by Christian? Anyone feel like they can't do that?
But
A
what
lot
about
of
the
these,
weather station?
the decision. I think we can make that one now. I don't think we need so I think since I did the analysis, a lot of the analysis, I don't think we need a weather station at the field sites. I think we would like to have a weather station nearby. So if we put one, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure we're getting interesting wind data. Danny, you want to comment on this? Because you're looking at data too.
I don't know if I have that much to add. I haven't really compared the on-site weather data to the airport or powerhouse stuff. Yeah, I don't know if I have that much helpful information to add. I think maybe this could be something we decide in the field if it's like a very sheltered home versus not a sheltered home. In terms of wind profile. Because if it's very sheltered, it's just there's not that much of an impact.
Okay,
Versus
that's fair. We
yeah.
may want to have for exposed homes, we may want to have a weather station.
Yeah.
I would like to reduce the number of field decisions as much as possible. I mean, several of you have been in the field or have done other field work, and it's just nice to know what you have to do instead of trying to make judgment calls when you're trying to get through a whole list of things to do. I know you're capable of making judgment calls, but I think the more specified it can be, the better.
I think we can
Danny,
also
there's a whole
yeah.
section in Dom's paper about comparison between airport and inside wind speeds.
Awesome. I think we could also do some prep if we wanted to and use some Google Maps reconnaissance to see if we think that an area will be sheltered or unsheltered. And you know, if it's in a neighborhood with tons and tons of trees, like somewhere like Old Town or something like that, or like, you know, around City Park, then we can kind of decide right then and there. So maybe that could be part of the prep is doing some internet reconnaissance.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And also what I would suggest you do is do the internet reconnaissance on the homes we've already done and then look at the results, right? Because that's a free lesson. So see if the internet reconnaissance works. Cool. I want to allow Erica and Pi to comment extensively on this because I feel like because you guys work with Christian, there's a lot going on there that perhaps doesn't ever come to the surface because it's all buried in the interface. So I want to hear your thoughts now. Like what is
Yeah, I guess looking at, so there was one item, just trying to find it. Right, 630 was agreement on data streams to be collected by the interface, right? I feel like embedded within that is also kind of just us making sure that the interaction data is being collected by the interfaces, right? But I don't know if we have ownership over like the ability to actuate that happens.
right, but have you guys tested the interaction data? What have you looked at?
Pi, did you ever get that emailed to you? I remember the request was there.
Yeah, I think we're still waiting on it.
I think it's kind of tricky right now. So I guess Pi and I lately behind the scenes, right, have been like making our list of like when Carson comes back, what to send him. But like, yeah, it's kind of waiting on Carson's return. It's kind of how we interpret it.
Is he 8/15 return?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm guessing mid-August, but I don't know the exact date.
Yeah, classes start like the next week, right? Or the week after?
Yeah, like the 23rd, I think.
Yeah, okay, so that seems like it's got a longer lead time, but if you guys haven't even been able to view the interaction data, I would say we're far from ready. We might suddenly be ready after you get it, but I'm not counting on that, right?
Yeah. I mean,
So-
I think in my mind, right, from apps that I've developed before in the past, right, it's really just like, make sure that couple lines of code is there. So I don't think, it's a long task, but yeah, it does require some access to the data.
So, maybe this is only true of physical data, but what I found is that getting the data is different from what you would ask for after you've looked at the data that you got. Because sometimes it's like, oh, I never thought of that,
Mhm.
right? So you guys are going to need I think you're going to need some time with it. I'm hoping that I'm wrong.
No,
But
I get what you're saying.
you
Yeah.
could look at it and go, yeah, this is exactly what we want. And that happens like as often as you get a paper accepted with with no revisions, Erica.
Once every, 38 years. That's my
Yeah.
track record.
This did happen. Woohoo.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's kind of a critical path issue.
Mhm.
We have to have that. So the poised condition would be you're getting the interaction data and you feel like it's going to be useful for your purposes, right?
Yeah.
You haven't even gotten it yet. And I'm gonna flag that red, but I think that could be that's gonna end up being a late deadline because there's steps on the way, yeah. Okay. Interface software and control software where the Christian had just listed a bunch of things that they have to do, and so I put those in for him. What else do you guys have?
I guess just on the purpose of interface, right? We had that listening session, what now, a month ago, and we've made a short list of like, a couple of interface tweaks that really need to be done. One really just, like, the screensaver, right? Just kind of dimming the screen so much that it has to be turned on, right? Like those sort of things. We've tried to make a really
Mhm.
short list and then a if Carson has more time list. So I'd say finalize the interface designs is kind of the other part on our
Okay.
vision for the interface that I didn't feel like necessarily was captured in this, but kind of was. Okay, I think that's good.
Yeah, so my understanding is that Christian has control over that and you don't have control over it. You're just asking for things, right?
Mm-hmm. That's how it's been.
Yeah. Is that comfortable for you? Like,
I mean, I don't want to like, I don't know, I feel like, it's it, obviously if we could execute on it, it would like be less of us just pestering, asking other people to do the task, but also, right, they've been writing the Python script and does it get too messy if it just gets passed back and forth between people
Yeah.
unless it's hosted somewhere where we can patch those through like a GitHub?
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who collaborate on software. I'm not saying how this should be run, but especially when, let's see what Carson's availability is, but I feel like that's uh, yeah, it's a potential.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way we've tried to frame it from moving forward is like, here's what really has to get done, and we're cognizant of, making sure that list is actionable and very clear. So I think we'll see. Yeah.
Is there potentially, so I'm also feeling like we had one round of comments. And then you're gonna have these updates, but we haven't tried them. We haven't tried the revised product. Do you think that it needs to go through another round of beta?
I think if we incorporate what we have on our list and it gets incorporated like exactly as the request is, it would be okay to go on the field. Of course, it'd be great to go through another iteration, but I don't think that that would be a go, no go point if it didn't happen.
Okay, so that's partly what started, like, I'm setting 9:30 ambitiously, so we have some of that proofing time, right? Because the first ones are likely gonna have something go wrong. So the go would be, in addition to Christian being satisfied, or the poised would be at least all Christians list, as well as the necessary updates from you two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else that you have on that?
Think the other things that I can think of are survey related. I don't know, Pi, did you have anything else interface related?
We haven't really seen the manual condition in action so far. We have the framework of how it should work, but we haven't actually laid eyes on that condition. And I think that was something that we were waiting again for Carson to come back and execute. I'm not sure if Christian and Carson were able to complete the manual condition before he left. But I think in the last discussion we had, he mentioned that they may have it ready. So it could just be us laying eyes on it and, giving it a go, no go from our end.
Okay. And that's never been anyone's house either, right?
No.
What
Personally,
does
no.
the notification look like? Is it on the interface? Does it make a noise? Does it, like, what does it do? I haven't seen
Yeah.
it either, obviously.
Pi has sent a mock-up of what the actual like verbiage and the workflow of the different ones. It's just a visual indicator.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's a good point, is like we just need to test, I think, the manual condition and make sure that it detects it, it sends an alert, right, and then turns on the system, right? That workflow is operational.
Yeah, but it seems like that's a thing that has been missed. Okay. Let's talk about the surveys then, because I also feel like we're spending a lot of time, we're putting a lot of energy into being physically ready for the field, and then it's like, then there are these surveys and only kind of a lot of them. And so this kind of interacts with our, like, how we relate to the user. So I bundled it all in there, because I feel like the occupant interaction is gonna have to be handled by somebody, and the survey is gonna have to be part of that package, even if it's a work stream that flows back to you, Eric and Pi, right? So is that an okay place to keep it?
I think so. I think when I think of the survey, I think of like the questions, right? And then I think of the administration of it. And
Okay.
that's and so is that kind of what you had in mind for, yeah, the SOP for all the surveys? It's like how we actually administer it to the participants?
That was a kind of a catch-all,
Mhm.
not
Yeah.
knowing what you folks would say.
No, I think it's
So
good.
you can
Yeah, so
change that language.
I would probably have an item for survey development, right? And like again,
Okay.
that is pending the very final versions of the interface design, screenshots just need to be put.
Oh, so
And
it
once-
relies on the interface. The surveys rely on the interface too.
Once we have those, then we can say, yeah, like
Oh.
those are done. Like the questions are there, it's just the pictures need to be swapped out for the final version.
Okay. And that needs to go through IRB, or has it gone like,
It went through IRB with our placeholder pictures of just like an old version of the interface.
okay. And so it wouldn't need to go through IRB with probably
It would,
kind of-
I don't think so, because right, it's just like, oh, the word AQI is no longer there, right? Like I don't think IRB
Right.
would
You're
care about
already
that.
exempt too, right?
Well, we're not.
Or you have exempt or expedited status? Thought it was exempt.
Either one still requires them to have eyes on the survey.
Right, but I thought if they're either of those and not something more full, that then changes that are made don't have to keep going through. Like what you're saying, Erica, I guess I was
Yeah.
just trying to confirm, like, I've had the same experience. If you make minor tweaks to an existing survey instrument, it does not need to go back to IRB. Sorry, I should have just said that more directly.
No, I think that's good. I think Mary Lee also kind of echoed the same
Oh
point.
yeah, you're nodding, yeah.
Yeah.
okay. So we had many rounds of piloting the weatherization survey. Do these surveys need to be piloted? Or is there going to be closer interaction? Like, are they going to be delivered by somebody who can answer questions about them? So what's your vision for that?
Yeah, so then the administration of the surveys, we kind of had like 3 thoughts there. I don't know if now is the right place to talk about.
Now is the right place.
All right. So one idea that Pi had that was inspired by some of the work he's been doing at Google is like just a screen pops up on our interface at the time point. So like at the end of week 3, for example, pops up and has the QR code, and you could scan your phone on it, and you could fill it out on your phone right there and then, and that'd be a good reminder. In that same pop up, they could just hit dismiss or I've already done the survey. We would also send it to them via email as well. So if they want to do it on their computer, they could get access to it. And then if the people prefer an paper version, we could just send it to them via the mail, because I think 16 houses isn't going to break the bank for printing out a survey, sending it to them.
Mhm.
Kind of what we had thought about. So that was our administration idea. So not hand delivered, sent via email, mail, or QR.
Mhm. And I think this raises, I guess it's something we haven't dealt with is, and somebody raised this before, so I don't know why it's not on there, but when we're switching conditions, can we do that? Do we tell them? Can we do that manually? Do we have to be in their home? Because that would be an, it seems like we should tell them, right? They should be notified. It shouldn't suddenly just stop being automated. And so if somebody visits them, that is another way in which the survey could be delivered. And like just more personal touch, like, hey, remember the survey? And then next time I'm not going to be here when you take the survey, but so that I think that's part of what the user sees. So that SOP, like I said, was a very vague thing. But yeah, I'm gonna put in here.
Yeah, and I guess like within the SOP could also be making sure the participant gets, and this isn't really I don't know, but just the plan for paying the participant for the
Yes.
completing the survey. And I don't necessarily know, that what we decided on that.
And well, so we're supposed to have weekly payments, and Ellison brought in the idea and we implemented it of having the payments increase with time. So as the participants wear out, they get more money and they want to stay in. And so, and it is a weekly payment. So how does that occur?
And so, like, are we gonna hold the payment if they don't complete our surveys? Is there
Um,
part of the payment attached to survey completion?
You certainly can. I'm,
Otherwise, how would we make sure people complete the survey? Because if they're getting paid to participate in the study and part of the expectation is to complete the survey, I feel like it should be attached.
yeah, I can speak to what we've experienced when we've done that. It's like a skewed distribution. The delaying, so we will say, we'll give you up to 2 reminders. So you have the initial, in our case, it's the automated email system. Initial email says, here's your survey, you have X amount of time to complete it. Then they get a reminder after X amount of time, they're told what X is. They get a second reminder, and then when they don't do that anymore, they don't get the incentive. But they have the option to, we will act as if you want to continue to participate. And so we'll move you into the next stage, but you don't get that payment. I will say it is a major headache to manage, because anyone that doesn't get their payment, then it's like a student not turning in an assignment. Like, there's a lot of communication. It has really bogged down. So I'm not saying that to say don't do that, because I think the incentives matter, and you do get people that you say, well, you won't get the payment, so then they do the thing you want, the survey. But I think having like, we have just stock language that we now respond, that says, this was our policy, this is what was shared with you. You have the option to exit the study if this doesn't work for you. We haven't had anyone exit the study, but we have had like rounds of communication. So in that long tail, it's not a high fraction of people, but it never gets 100% is in my experience. Yeah, I think it's a good idea, because otherwise our survey completion rate, I think, would be quite a bit lower. It's probably a solid third of people that don't respond within the time window that they're supposed to. And we probably get, I'm just guessing, but like another, like half to like 7/8 even of those with the withholding it until they've done it. So,
I think it would be super helpful if you could share your language, Allison.
yeah, sure.
And Kristen, I'm wondering if like all of this is, I feel like we should just have a portfolio of documents and communications. And they need to tie into the other aspects of the project, but I feel like if we develop this as a package of participant communications, that that then we'll just be able to walk through it during the field study. So I wonder if this is something you could take charge of developing, and you'd have backup from everybody, right? You're going to need the language, but I think you have a really good sense of process and like when things have to occur. Does that seem plausible?
Yeah. Definitely.
Okay, so I'm gonna put it may be Will or somebody else in charge of recruitment contact, and I'm saying Will because he did it before. But I'm gonna put Kristen in charge of the system. And then if Will is the point of contact, that's another thing. We're like getting close to time. Yeah, there's so many details. I think we're gonna need like offline meetings and then among teams, and then just report back to the whole team so we don't take whole team's time. I think it's okay to do this a little bit so people, because I think everybody's got a stake in it, right? And so just for people to see how the whole thing works, but we're certainly not going to be able to do this to finalize all these decisions in whole group. Oh, what was I gonna say? Data sharing, since Kristen, Danny, and I are working on data sharing out of the Epic Homes follow-ons, that we might propose something and have people comment. So we're gonna have to, in order to get this done, we're gonna have to go to a lot of propose and comment, right? Um, yeah, and I'm also wondering, even though I've made the PIs be kind of lead, I do wonder if I should task like, Misa, you're in charge of all the 500s and making sure they get done, right? And and then I can bother you about the whole thing, but then you can bring back to me like, hey, we haven't made the fantastic decisions, we need a meeting. Will, is there something that you see that you would like to, or that you think would be like really suitable for you? I know you're working on the pretest. I think you'd probably be good at site screening.
That's fine.
Because I mean, as you mentioned, you may be the one who goes out there, right? And so, if you set up a method for you to be able to check like a bunch of stuff, like, does it have a crawl space? Do you think it's worthy of a weather station? Then I think, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna move Paul and Christian, because Paul and Christian, they're not even here. They can be approvers. Okay. Oh, did I spell your name wrong? I did. Danny, is there something that you think you're gonna be? You might not lead a whole block because you're still kind of new in the field, but curious if you wanna.
I was definitely thinking I could at least help out on the 500s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was thinking I could help out on the 500s and also help with making sure all the equipment's good to go. Because I know that's kind of a big effort for one person in the lab, Misa. If you want
It
help.
is. It is. I'm gonna put Misa as lead on this, but and I'm gonna put Misa on data retrieval and processing because I'm already hounding him about that. But I think, Danny, that we should put you on quality checks.
Cool.
Okay. And then a lot of the stuff I'm going to be looking to get to a poised status in August. August 15th, I know is really, really soon. So I only put one thing as August 15th. But I want us to look at the end of August as our like we should be approaching poised status. And if we're not, I want people to sound the alarm. Like we're nowhere near this, or we haven't done anything on this. We gotta move. Cool. Lots of good ideas in the chat too. So we can save that. Cool, everybody. Erica and Pi, I'm out next week, but I'm really seeing the backup with the Carson issue. I mean, Carson's brilliant, but he's one person, and so I like redundancy, right? So, maybe we could have a conversation with Christian about that. I don't, I also feel hesitant to take over from somebody. It feels like I don't want to butt in. Right? But at the same time, we gotta have redundancy. Like same with you, where I said, okay, if you're not here to answer questions about the surveys, it's gotta be Pi, right? Like we can't be, the people are gonna drop out here and there, so you always have to have a backup. So I think Kristen will help me remember to have that conversation. Kristen is becoming my brain because I don't have one. Okay. Anyone want to comment on things that they see? Especially right now, it'll be really useful for you to see things that are critical path elements. And I don't know if y'all have encountered, you should have encountered that in engineering sometime. Like if it's gonna, like if everybody's stuck trying to get through a hole. So that's the last thing. Your call out of what you see here as critical path, like blocking progress. It's a lot of head nodding. Does that mean like everyone's good with it? Or are you like, yeah, hundreds of critical path elements were screwed? That could be another interpretation. Okay, well, I'm gonna close up. Sorry I took you all the way to the hour. But yeah, have a great weekend. We don't have a meeting next week, I think. Yeah. So, but we have a lot of work to do. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.